Welcome to Bada Boom. I'm Chris. We're really excited to be able to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man 3. The action has finally picked up. What do you think, Troy? I love this issue. It was exactly what I thought issue 2 would be. Even though I really liked issue 2, but I felt like I was kind of liking it because I'm like, oh, it's gonna pick up eventually. But now there were some really great emotional moments and also a lot of great action. So what did you think?
Dude, I totally agree. This is exactly what I thought we were going to get with issue two, especially with the Green Goblin being on the front of that cover. I was like, oh, yeah, he's got to show up. And Bro didn't even show up, I feel like, at all during that issue, which is fine because this issue was pretty much his, which, spoiler alert, it's Harry Osborn, which that's exactly who I thought it was whenever this first kind of popped up on the page. But I mean, it's a great issue. It still feels like from issues one, two, and yeah, this is the three. It still feels like I'm reading issue one because there's so many new things that are happening, and we are like moving the storyline along, but it's just developing at a pace that's not too slow or not too fast that you're like, I could just comfortably sit down and read issues one through three right now and feel like I've only read one comic book because of the pacing, which is great. And I think this is like we've said this multiple times, but this is definitely one of those comic books that I think like we kind of needed as just like comic book readers, but overall as adults when we're thinking of just like how time passes and how we interact with different parts of our lives, whether it's our kids or our parents or work or what we're really passionate about in life, like this version of Peter Parker is definitely the Peter Parker for our age group.
Yeah, this is exactly what people have been asking for in the mainline 616 universe. But I'm happy we got it in the Ultimate universe. Jonathan Hickman has been doing a really great job with Marco Chechetto to be able to kind of create this new world, this Ultimate universe, where this particular story, Ultimate Spider-Man, does have what fans want, but it's also challenging them in a lot of ways. There's a lot of dynamics that you're used to, like whether it be, Uncle Ben being alive, Jay Jonah being more of an ally, Norman being dead, Harry being the first Green Goblin, this version of Bullseye, Kingpin being the owner of the Daily Bugle. All these things have been flipped on their head, but it feels very much like Spider-Man. So in these first three issues, they've done a great job of setting up A, B, C, D plot lines. So you're intrigued in the story, but it's a comic book, so you want to see action. So in this particular issue, we get Spider-Man going up against Green Goblin and Bullseye, which is a really fun fight. And if you read the second issue, there was some action with Shocker, but Peter got his ass handed to him twice
Yeah.
just from a trick. So it is cool to kind of see him sort of grow a little bit. And also to have those really intimate moments with his family, May know who he is, and we finally kind of know why. If you bought issue 1, if you're lucky enough to buy one before it was like $100, um, they came out with all these variant covers of like a black suit, like the Spider-Man 2099, and now we know that, hey, like this suit is able to, change and transform into different iterations, so which kinda sucks sucks because 'cause I'm like, "Hey, like, will we ever get the symbiote Spider-Man?" But that's way down the line. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's an amazing issue that kind of, like, picks up the pace, and Hickman is doing a great job of planting these seeds and also having these just really emotional moments. Again, spoiler alert, but at the end of the issue, Peter, Harry introduce each other, themselves to each other, and they're like, "Hey, why don't we get a drink? This world we're in right now is crazy, and sometimes that's what you need to hear." And it felt like the end of the first issue where you see Peter, realize that there's a life that was denied from him that he should have lived. And this felt like that. Like, hey, like I need a minute, like this world is crazy, I'm, fighting people on rooftops, people are dying, like this is crazy. I need a friend. And that was the end of it. So it between those really big and bombastic moments, you have those really great character moments.
Yeah, and the fact that we get to see just so many aspects of Peter's life, I think like really makes the story relatable and ties everything really well together because we see again so many facets of his life to where he makes the suit with his daughter, to where he gets to catch up with Uncle Ben, and now he's like, oh, I can kind of find someone that's can relate to what I'm going through. And he has kind of, in a sense, at the moment at least, compartmentalized different aspects of his life. And I'm sure that's going to come falling down on him in the next maybe 2 or 3 issues. But it'll be interesting to see when it does. And I'm sure it's going to be done in a very relatable way.
And where do you think these issues are going? For me, it was kind of hinted at, and we know there's a larger world at play if you've read Ultimate Invasion, and also sort of what Iron Lad was hinting at when he gave Spider-Man the Peter the radioactive spider and the suit. So I think sort of we're obviously building up the threat of Kingpin, but based on what Bullseye was saying, like, hey, I actually work for the real power players. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how that all comes together, especially if you're reading Ultimate Black Panther, which that is also playing a factor in that book. So I wonder if all of these will collide in either the Ultimate, which is the Ultimate Avengers book that is coming out in a couple months, or we'll see it play out more individually in these stories. Like, will we see the Maker return in some way? Will we see Peter kind of literally face the years that he missed, or will there be some other multiversal aspects, or will it stay contained? There's just so many possibilities on top of just the story that's going on right now, which is really intriguing. You've got Kingpin, you've got the Goblin, you've got Ben Parker and Jonah creating their new business and sort of investigating what's going on. So it's just one of those books, and that is why we're reviewing it every time a new issue comes out. It's just something I have to read it as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. And it's crazy how we keep getting these other pieces of the New York villains and heroes of Marvel. And they're all done so well. Like Bullseye doesn't stray too far from what his original story kind of is, and hopefully we'll see some cool developments with him. But every single issue, while I feel like I'm there to read and figure out like what's going on with Peter and how do we get to see this new telling of Spider-Man for our age group per se, it's always great to be able to see the other characters that we enjoy. Like in the first one we saw, you know, Matt Murdock is a priest, and Harry Osborn is like an Iron Man, Green Goblin a bit now. So one thing that I thought would be really cool is if in the next issue we have Karen Page as the first employee for Jay Jonah and Ben Parker's new paper. So the excitement of, well, what else can these other characters be doing, but also how is Peter being Spider-Man in such a unique way that is also just so relatable to me, is those two things make this such a great book to pick up and read.
Yeah. And what do you guys think? Have you been picking up Ultimate Spider-Man? Let us know. And with that, bada boom.
Bada boom.
Thank you for listening to the Bob Boom Podcast. Keep the conversation going with Chris and I on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can find us on all these places at Bada Boom Podcast. Get into the comments on our YouTube channel. Let us know what you like about the show or what you'd like to hear from us in the future. Until next time, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Thanks for listening.